startup companies are society's most effective vehicle to deliver impact and innovation, full stop. And I think today it will be the startup company that win. It takes a certain set of character traits to really have the resilience to build something truly spectacular. Being pessimistic doesn't change the world. Like you've got to kind of be this balance of like supremely optimistic, but supremely paranoid.
Yeah.
I mean, effectively biology creates the entire natural world, so it's a very powerful technologies.
I'm Phoebe Stone and this is Connected Capital. To keep up to date with the rest of the Connected Capital series, please visit our website via the link below or head to our Spotify and YouTube channels. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Harry Destecroix. Harry, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here because as a business and LGT Wealth Management here in the UK, I've been working with you for some years. Your journey to founder of a business that you sold to Novo Nordisk, and now your role as managing partner of Science Creates Ventures, is an extraordinary journey to have followed. Can you start by telling us about that journey?
Yeah, sure. So, I ended up studying science at university, chemistry, went traveling for a bit after my undergraduate, and then ended up not being able to really get a job. So decided I should maybe go back to university. I was always interested in the research element. So I ended up at Bristol University studying for a PhD. And about halfway through my PhD, we discovered a new way that we could bind to sugar. So in 2014, I made the jump and founded Ziylo with my university professor and a school friend that I was living with in Bristol in a basement flat. And what's most interesting about the story was that in Bristol we couldn't really find what we needed, struggled to raise capital, struggled to find the infrastructure, struggled to find the talent. So a year after founding Ziylo, I founded my second company, which has ended up being now known as Science Creates. And we needed a lab space to do the fundamental R&D because we're a deep tech company. And we couldn't find it until somewhere like Oxford. So we set up a second business, and in 2017 we opened one of the UK's first kind of purpose-built deep tech facilities that was solely focused on helping academics commercialize their research, helping everything from quantum sciences all the way through to biotech companies. So we moved into our own incubator.
And when you set up your incubator in Bristol, that was solely for the business that you were building?
We built an incubator, so effectively we needed lab space, but we didn't have enough money to build our lab space. Yeah. So then I went and spoke to other scientists who had great ideas. I was doing talks at the university and they had good ideas, but they had nowhere to go like me. So I set up a second business to build a lab space as a separate business, just so that I could rent out space for myself.
Yeah, and did you see demand? Yeah, did you see demand almost immediately, or?
We were full within 18 months. We didn't get any local funding from government. They said it wouldn't work. There was no demand. I said it's a chicken and egg. You can't have demand because these startups won't build their own facilities. So I think it was it was obviously a quite stressful time to be running two companies and to have everyone saying it's not going to work. Yeah. But we filled within 18 months, and I think within sort of 2 years of opening, Bristol had gone from like 20th in the spin out rankings to top 10.
Right, yeah.
So considering how much money is tried to deploy to create innovation, it was a tiny amount of capital and a warehouse conversion in the city centre that unlocked the hundreds of millions of pounds worth of government money that's going into research. Yeah. And about 18 months later, we were acquired by Novo Nordisk, one of the largest early stage deals in UK history. I'd really struggled to raise capital, which ended up being a good thing in the end. It wasn't too heavily diluted. Yeah. And so from 2018, I started to invest as an angel investor. I made 14 or so angel investments. At the time, I was an LGT client. I naturally went to speak to the people here and said, look, I've been angel investing. I'm building another incubator now. I'm thinking of setting up a VC fund. And yeah, everybody was really, really supportive. They came down to Bristol to meet me. And I got a lot of support and encouragement actually from a lot of the team here, which was really, really helpful. I raised my first VC fund in 2021, same year that we opened the second facility in Bristol. And yeah, now today we're about to launch a second. Well, we did a first close of a second fund last year, and we're targeting a 100 million fund that invests in some of the brightest professors, postdocs with great ideas across Europe, trying to solve really hard problems that will help people and the planet.
Yeah. And what sort of businesses do you tend to fund in the VC funds?
So the thesis is to focus on companies that have the potential to benefit the health of people and the health of the planet. Yeah. And we look for very, very good technical founders who have discovered something in their research group or maybe from industry. And we look for a body of evidence that suggests this is an important breakthrough. There's usually in 90% of cases some kind of patent portfolio that's sort of the basis to set the company up around. And then we help support those technical founders make that journey to entrepreneurship. And I think that's one of my skill sets. We've got another partner, or three partners in the fund, John and Kath, and John's also an exited founder in the AI ML space. I'm more in biotech. Kath's also got a technical background. So I think what we can do is look and understand the technology and understand, is this really a differentiated technology? And at the same time, we understand from ourselves and from a lot of experience investing now, is this person technically able, but do they have the right character traits to transition over to entrepreneurship? Because it's not just about getting the technology right, it's about building a business. So there's a lot of other skills, obviously, to running a business other than the core technology. So trying to make that judgment, first of all, here's a great technology, but it's about the people as well. Yeah. So, I think we've been learning a lot about both of those areas, how to sort of DD and really understand the technology. And then, is this person kind of motivated enough to have a chip on their shoulder? Have they got that drive to really build a company? Because it's extremely hard to do it. And it takes a certain set of character traits to really have the resilience to build something truly spectacular. We supported 125 startups today. We are running the UK's national engineering biology accelerator programs. So we're really actively focused. And then finally, we are also have a foundation and a charity that we set up in 2023 to support kind of the next generation of local school children, trying to get them into STEM subjects, but importantly, to try and be entrepreneurs, because we believe that startup companies are society's most effective vehicle to deliver impact and innovation, full stop, don't argue with me. And we think that people should be selecting this as a career choice.
Yeah, and I think that journey that you've just described there is extraordinarily fast. And I think any sort of comparable individual anywhere in the world would have taken many, many times longer than what you've achieved. I'm really interested in your personal skill set, clearly as a scientist, but also very obviously as an entrepreneur. You applied for that patent back in 2012 when you were still midway through your PhD. So you clearly were aware of the commercialization of that specific project. How unusual do you think that entrepreneurial spirit that you have, or skill set that you have, almost the business first mindset, is amongst the scientific community?
The entrepreneurial kind of, there's a gene or something like that. I think some people kind of are a bit more extreme and kind of really don't take no for an answer. I mean, entrepreneurs are really quite difficult people. They're contrarian. Yeah. Being pessimistic doesn't change the world. Like you've got to kind of be this balance of like supremely optimistic, but supremely paranoid, because it's really, really hard. So it's not for everybody. So there's sort of the culture we have within UK academia isn't very entrepreneurial. It's getting better, but compared to kind of the States, it's really different. So I would say it's actually institution and city dependent, and it's a product of your colleagues and everyone around. So in America, if you're at MIT and you're in academia, it's pretty normal to try and do a startup. Like it's so it's not something that's scientist specific.
Yeah.
It's just more that you're a product of the people that you keep around you. So once you shift that culture, you will see big changes, and it explains a lot of the differences between certain. I mean, even in America, it's actually one or two cities. It's West Coast, it's San Francisco. If you go there, you're in a cab, and if you get speaking to someone who's like, well, actually, I've done an MBA at Stanford, I'm a CS grad, and I just drive Ubers to clear my head, and actually I've got like 2 startup ideas. So it's almost like, whereas you go speak to friends and family here in the UK, you talk about venture capital, or startups, like most of them have never heard of it. It's, hopefully it's something that people can be made aware of, that it is a separate career path, in my opinion.
Yeah. You've mentioned the foundation that you've built, Science Creates Outreach. Can you talk about how important it is for you to have that philanthropic funding?
Yeah, I mean, so we opened the first incubator in 2017, and we're in one of the poorest areas of the city. Bristol's got over 100 languages spoken within the city remit. I mean, I grew up from a working class family. I was the first to go to university. So understanding that a lot of these career choices aren't kind of obvious to a lot of families. So we started bringing in the local school children into the incubators, and we realized just how special that was. There's a lot of bringing school children into science labs and to universities, and sometimes it's quite hard to understand kind of why do we do science. Whereas I think what's magic about science plus entrepreneurship is you start to understand that science is a way to solve really important problems. If you're sick, the planet's sick, this is how we solve these things. So that was an enormous success. We've had 2,800 local school children through our program, and in 2023 we decided to set up a charity, Science Creates Outreach, which now aims to have 4,000 school children through the programs each year. And for us, the way we think about it is, we provide training for entrepreneurs, through our partnerships, through our own programs, and we believe that the world's going to have lots of problems moving forwards. So therefore, all we're doing is saying, well, let's start from age 10. So the way we think of our foundation outreach is from 10 years old to 20 years, maybe a bit like football teams and scouts and things like that. We're just saying, let's bring in local school children, let's teach them about science, but let's also say, look, you shouldn't just be aiming to be a scientist, you should be aiming to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Harry, I think your ambition and your vision is extraordinary. How do you allocate your time? How do you prioritize all of this incredible work that you're doing?
I think I end up getting all the credit for it. Of course, I've got an amazing team, lots of supporters. I mean, lots of people here at LGT who've given me a lot of support, a lot of time. And it's about just really building this together with your team. We've got a strong kind of employee ownership, which I absolutely believe in the value of equity.
Yeah.
I'm very much focused on the VC component of in terms of my practicing day job, where I get the most amount of, I suppose, enjoyment, where I feel like I can add the most value is directly advising portfolio CEOs and companies, and working with them in the earliest stages to help set the strategy and support them actually when things are going well, from the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So I really enjoy that aspect of the job, that you feel like you can hopefully make a difference, because it's a really hard thing to be doing, building a startup company.
Yeah. So you've built those pillars. Would you say your vision for the future is to expand those pillars and multiply those pillars in other parts of the UK or further afield?
Yeah, 100%. So I think like in Bristol's almost been this kind of clean economic experiment with very little capital. I think we're now I think we last economic report, we were adding 125 million to the local economy a year. It's probably going to be doubling this year. It's been very little money in and a lot of innovation out. And I think we've now, it's going to become, it was 10 years since I founded Ziylo last week. Been 10 years as an entrepreneur, 9 years building and the ecosystem and the pillars of it. So we've learned a hell of a lot. And I think now what we're thinking of is how do we scale this nationally and internationally.
Yeah. It's been amazing hearing your journey, and it's extremely inspiring to see your passion and your vision for changing the landscape around VC ecosystems and getting funding into science and some of those so drastically needed ideas to solve the challenges that we're facing. Harry, we asked every guest the same question at the end. Within the spirit of connecting capital and connecting ideas and furthering the conversation, could you recommend someone to come on to this series to do an episode, please?
Well, I think, there's potentially, I would say one of the people that I've worked with, who was COO at Ziylo. She then, helped build the incubators, and now she runs Science Creates Outreach. So Charlie she was a primary school teacher, and then she had a year out, and we were friends. And I said, hey, I'm starting this thing called Ziylo. So she joined me. So really, because we needed someone to sort of tell us what to do. So she came in as COO, and then all of a sudden she was on a construction site. And then she said, look, I want to do this thing with the local community. So I was like, 100%, we've got to do this. And now she's become the CEO of the charity. So she has only ever really worked with, in some of the, most kind of deprived schools in Bristol as a primary school teacher. She's a brilliant primary school teacher. And then her career's just been in startups, building incubators. And now she works with school children to try and get them into this community. So there are very few people in the country, I would say, that has a background in education, her background in startups and the ecosystem, and then works directly through this. I believe that entrepreneurship and startups are really the best way we can solve hard problems, and to try and kind of get our the next generation to think about this as a career choice from a very young age. I think could be hugely impactful, not only to their own lives, but also more to the rest of the world.
Well, it'd be amazing to be connected to Charlie. Harry, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and and thanks very much LGT for all the support, and hopefully things continue to go in the right direction.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To keep up to date with the rest of the Connected Capital series, please visit our website via the link below, or head to our Spotify and YouTube channels.